Hey, Professor Keating, I want to thank you again for extending the speech up until tonight. Sorry if my voice is kind of scratchy still. I'm still working through this. Here is my audience. A couple guys over here, a couple guys over here, a couple more over here. And here we go. There are an estimated 27 million people today who are in slavery actively. Furthermore, every 120 seconds, a child is sold into slavery. Unfortunately, it's no longer tied down to one ethnic group or one gender or one country across the world. There's over 160 countries right now where there's reported cases of human trafficking. For me, it's always been a burden on my heart. As soon as I really started to understand what that looked like, I started looking into it and realizing that the further you go, the darker it really gets. I've done research online and looked around a lot to try and figure out what it really looks like in the world today and what's really going on. And one of my good friends was a extreme needs foster parent, and he dealt with a lot of people firsthand who were either on the other side of human trafficking or had been in and out of it for a while and really got to see how much it can tear you apart. Every single one of us needs to take steps to eradicate the human trafficking market. Only after more attention is drawn on an international side are there going to be laws between countries that are going to crack down on this market. It's a worldwide thing. It's not just tied down to one country. I'm going to show that human trafficking can only be brought to an end by all of us by showing that how many people today are out there that want to get out of it but just can't because they feel like nobody's out there for them with the lapse that we've had year after year of more people getting tied into it, as well as how human trafficking organizations are really struggling right now financially with this huge uprise we've had in it. And lastly, how the only way to really get to the root of this is to enforce the legislative side way stricter than where the laws are at right now. To try and grasp a deeper understanding on the subject, we're going to start with how much of an increase we've had in recent years with human trafficking. Unfortunately, while we've had more people want to volunteer and help, which has been awesome, the amount of increase they've had on a global scale has been too much for any group of volunteers to go. And the people that are in the human trafficking business right now just feel like there's nobody's out there for them. So the victim of these guys are getting sold into slavery from a young age most of the time and are really struggling right now to see any kind of tangible result from any of the volunteer organizations because the ratio is just getting worse and worse as time goes by. The only way to make a real dent in it is to volunteer. Now, if you're not in an area where there's an active organization that's helping or whatever, you can always just donate online or even to spread the word. The biggest part about it is how many people don't realize what's really happening on a global scale. Human trafficking prevention organizations are struggling right now to keep up with the financial side of things. Last year alone, human trafficking brought in $32 billion, and that number has been growing year over year ever since they started taking statistics on it. It's really hard to keep a track on that and boil it down to one exact number, but the last record that they have for 2014 was $32 billion, and every single day it seems like it's going up. This brings me to my last point. Human trafficking organizations has become a global issue, and it's going across countries, it's going across continents, it's going across oceans, and there just aren't enough laws set up on a global scale between organizations and between countries to bring this to an end. Unfortunately, if governments aren't forced to look at this and realize how many people it's really affecting, they're not going to put the time and effort in to stop these organizations. In conclusion, human trafficking is a worldwide problem that's far-reaching, and its effects on those involved are lifelong. We need to be focusing on getting these people out, whether they're kids or whether they're adults, no matter how old they are, and getting them the treatment they need so that God can start restoring the sanctity of life to them that we all deserved. We can all do something about it, whether you feel like you don't have any time or money. You can just be in prayer for these organizations and the people involved because it's just not fair to these kids. I mean, some of these are getting sold as young as 2 years old and don't get out of it until their 20s, 30s, 40s, or they're dead. And it's just brutal. Everyone can play a role in it, whether it's just in prayer, giving your time, or helping financially. Nothing's going to change unless we all get involved. From the trends we've seen, it's only getting worse and worse. And unless somebody plays an active role in trying to bring it to an end, it's just going to keep getting worse. God desires us all to live and enjoy the sanctity of life that only He can offer.